Hey, friends, welcome back to yet another exciting episode of Friends of the Squared Circle. I'm your host, Crander Q, a.k.a. my real name, the number one beard in all of pro wrestling podcasting. That's right, Jess, the number one beard in all of pro wrestling podcasting. Self-proclaimed, so no one can take it away from me. First off, we want to make sure that we shout out our sister shows here, pun intended, folks, Wrestling with Pride, The Main Event with Meg Lavelle, as well as Bell to Bell with Amanda Monroe. And don't forget, we have the Patreon now, so we want to give a huge shout out to Brian, Joe, Nick, Mike, Bobby, Alex, CZ, the only beard that I do bow down to, Mike D, as well as Justin, Allie, and my wife, because she has to support the podcast. But don't forget to check out those other pages as well. And I called her Jess, but she is the boss lady. She's joining us here with the number one beard. How are you doing today, boss?
I am doing great. The sun is shining and we're on a podcast, so I have no complaints.
Yeah, that's great. You got the sun is shining. Like I said, we just got a snowstorm here. My wife is in Hawaii. So it's been pretty crazy here, but we're not going to talk about weather too much, but we want to talk about your wrestling fandom. What's that first earliest memory that you can remember?
Oh my gosh. So I don't know how young I was, and I will throw this disclaimer out. I got into wrestling way different than most of my peers. Most of my peers grew up watching it on television every week. It was not something that happened in my family at all. It was not something that my parents really approved of. But I do remember very specifically when I was a kid, we were scrolling through the channels, and all I remember was it was the Great Khali, and he had somebody in that vice grip. And, at the time, I'm a kid at the time, so I don't know how any of this works, but the camera's zooming in on whoever his opponent was. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, his head is going to explode. Like, I was so worried. They went to commercial, then came back. He was still in that grip. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody stop the match. This man is going to die. And again, I have no idea who he was wrestling, who it was. But that is such a vivid memory for me, being totally entranced by, like, this guy is going to have his skull crushed by this man's bare hands, And of course, seeing the Great Khali, this monster of a man on television, thinking, like, how is a person that big and that scary real? So that's my earliest memory of pro wrestling.
And people ask me all the time, like, how did I get this great beard? So I understand how Khali is so big. I'm going to be talking about this thing all day today, just so you know. But that is an interesting take, because you don't hear Great Khali as being something or someone that people resonate to right in the beginning. Like, what is happening here? I love your take on it. I know he's going to be in Florida here shortly. In the next few weeks, and I would love to meet him. He's got a book out. That's one thing I collect behind me. You can see all of my biographies back there. But now, as you're getting into it, did you start, like, searching it out? Did you find it on the interwebs, or how did you continue to find wrestling?
Well, it actually wasn't until well into my adult years that I really dove into it. But the next kind of thing that happened for me wrestling wise, I think I was maybe 12 or 13, and an indie show came to my town, and they hosted an event in what used to be the elementary school near my house, which it had since closed down. But they were still renting out the gym for events. And I honestly couldn't tell you the company. I couldn't tell you anybody who was on it. But we went. It was me, my mom, and my little brother. And it was interesting. I didn't really know what to make of it. But I do remember my little brother sitting next to me and turning around and looking at my mom behind us and saying, "Mom, is this real?" And she went, "Do you think it is?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think it's real." And he turned back around and we watched the show. And when I finally started Route 33 Wrestling, and of course, getting messages in from wrestlers wanting to work, somebody did message me saying, like, "Oh, I was in your area decades ago in like 2003 at Menorah School in the gym." And I was like, "Oh my God, I was at that show, but I was a kid," and like, whatever. So, but that was still, again, years and years and years before I really started kind of getting into it. And it's kind of this butterfly effect. So when I was 9, before that show even happened, I started taking dance, and that kind of flowed into an interest in theater. And so when I got into high school, I started taking acting classes. And I decided by the time I graduated, that's what I wanted to do. So I ended up going to the University of the Arts in Philadelphia and
Nice.
studied acting and creative writing for 4 years. During my time there, all undergrad had to take a stage combat class for 1 semester. And I immediately fell in love with it. And I thought, sword fighting and like punching people, and I could do this as like a career. Heck yes. Absolutely adored my teacher, Professor Charles Conwell. He's still a little bit active in the Philly area.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up taking that all 4 years, every semester. I did some independent studies. I kind of started learning how to choreograph and direct and like film my own stuff. And 1 week before I graduated, this was right around the time we were doing our final certifications, my teacher pulled me aside and said, "Have you ever considered doing stunt work?" And I was like, "That sounds amazing." So he got me a small scholarship, and the following year I flew out to Seattle and attended the International Stunt School for like a month. I learned everything from fighting on television to skidding cars. I got set on fire, like
Oh, wow.
all sorts. Yeah, it was wild. It was an amazing time, and I would love to go back. But now this is where the wrestling part comes in. So I had made a joke a few years prior. I said I was like down on myself about acting because I wasn't sure if it was still what I wanted to do. And I remember saying to somebody, "Man, if I was hotter, I would just be a WWE diva." So fast forward to 2014, I'm flying back from Seattle, and I had a layover in Chicago. And a friend of mine who I'd been friends with for years and years and years messaged me out of the blue and said, "Hey, I know this guy that's setting up a wrestling ring not too far from where you live, about 45 minutes from where I lived at the time." And he said, "Given all of your interests and your background, like this might be something you want to try out." And I'm like, all right. I knew a couple people who were going to be there. And so I drove out. I met my now husband who was there helping set up the ring, and just kind of got bit by the bug. And I will say, if I ever reference my training, this is like at the loosest definition I could possibly make it. It was a very informal group of friends that kind of just were rolling around in the ring with the basics. It was sort of a situation where somebody learned from somebody and did an indie show, and then they brought their knowledge to us. So it was very, very casual, unofficial. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. I continued this unofficial training for a couple years. And during that time, I was attending indie shows and watching my friends who were fully trained going out and having those experiences. And I was kind of unofficially paying dues at that time as well, filming matches, writing press releases. And, I saw kind of the less than glamorous side of things, the not getting paid, the questionable people being in charge, the dirty venues and that kind of thing. And it kept it kind of bouncing around in my head, like this could be done better. And so I was injured in 2017, non-wrestling related. And I had some of this downtime, and I thought, I'm really going to like look into starting my own company. And so the following spring, put all of that knowledge and experience to the test, and we started Route 33 Wrestling, and the rest is kind of history at this point.
That's very nice. Who were some of the friends, as I like to call them, that you got to roll around with? Any of them still out there active or not active?
Yeah. So I'll mention my husband first, the Mountain King. He also has a friend named John D. Crazy Hillbilly that lives up the mountain from us that we get to see on a regular basis. Yeah, and a couple other friends that I've lost touch with. Like I said, when I say this was like hole in the wall training, I think one of them is still active on the indies. A couple of them I've fallen out of touch with. But yeah, it was a very, very small group of friends.
I know, like me and my buddy, we used to wrestle on the trampoline and stuff. I've said in previous episodes where we went to like the dollar store and got the cookie sheets that you could literally flick and they would crumble. And he like jumped off the trampoline or something and hit me in the head with it, and I pretended like I was dying. and his stepdad comes running out screaming, "What the hell is wrong with you guys? What are you doing?" And I'm like, I'm fine. Look how easy it is to think. And he's like, "You need to do something else." I'm like, "Oh my goodness." And I was like, "Oh, I sold it like a champ," And
Yeah.
he was very like athletic. He played hockey, his whole life at that point. And he's like doing backflips standing in the yard, and he's jumping out of trees onto me. And I thought we were the coolest kids in the world.
Oh
We just
yeah.
always wrestle. And yeah, I never went for training because it was just something that I would never have done. And people always tell me now, like, why don't you get into the business? It's like, it's not what I want to do. I'm not an athlete. I'm a talker. Like, I just want to talk to people about it and hang out with people about it. But I don't want to do the hard stuff, So I don't want to be behind the curtain. If I did anything, I've said it numerous times, so no one can take this away from me. I just want to do ring announcing. That would be the only thing that I would do inside the squared circle, because I'm not trying to get in the business. This podcast isn't a step to get behind the curtain. I like where I sit with my podcast, talk to the friends and fans, and have fun that way, because it's just someone else that has to listen to me, talk about wrestling versus my wife who just rolls her eyes, so.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, several of my friends who were involved in this
Mhm.
also came from the trampoline backyard kind of
Yep.
stuff. And long before an actual wrestling ring ever came into the picture, I had gone out and gone to their property and watched them jump off of trailers onto each other, onto trampolines, and break light tubes across each other. And I'm just like, y'all are nuts.
Yeah.
And I get that I don't want to say hesitation to get in the ring, but kind of like knowing where the boundary is.
Mhm.
Same for me. I am largely on the business side of things. There have been a few times I've gotten in there, uh, but it's like I always say, it's difficult to run a business and fight for my life at the same time. I would like to
Mhm.
do one or the other and not both.
Yeah, the only time I've been really backstage is when there was some free catering, and they told me to go eat. And I was like, "All right, well, I'm a big guy. I like the food. I'm from Wisconsin. We like the cheese. We like the salami sandwiches. I went and got half a sandwich. But yeah, I know the boundaries. I'm not one of those people that think that I'm bigger than I am, except for my beard, self-proclaimed once again. But back to your wrestling fandom here. Is there anybody that stuck out in those early days that you idolized as a pro?
Oh my gosh, yes. So some of the earliest, and again, I will say, not growing up with this, I had no
Hmm.
idea about anything. I knew who John Cena was, that was about it.
Hmm.
But in those early days, some of my friends who were a bit more seasoned gave me some suggestions on who to watch for film study based on my physique or like kind of what I
Hmm.
was interested in learning to do. The two that stuck out most to me, Ultimo Dragon and Tajiri. And
Oh.
those two are still my absolute favorites. Ultimo Dragon, I would argue, is probably the best all around wrestler
Okay.
ever. Just in terms of style and technique, he can do pretty much anything. He can
Hmm.
wrestle pretty much any style, and he looks great doing it. And I always love his gear, the holographic,
Hmm.
dragon scales and whatnot.
Yep.
And Tajiri, I don't know what it is about Tajiri that
He's
just
just a badass.
scratches.
I mean,
He really is.
I love Tajiri. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. Go ahead.
he's
Sorry.
he's fantastic. Something about just the way that he moves.
Hmm.
He's creepy, but he's super smooth, and like everything that he does is so clean and crisp and perfect. And I remember very early on watching a highlight reel of like his top moves
Hmm.
and watching him in his very, very early days before ECW, before all of that. Uh, Hitting like a hurricane rana on a dude like it was nothing and like going through the legs and rolling him up into a pin. And I just remember watching that on repeat, thinking like if I could do something
Hmm.
that fluid, I would consider myself a success.
Yeah.
So I think those two are probably my top two. Also a big Billy Kidman fan early on.
Okay. Yep. Billy Kidman. Yep. Very good at what he
Yeah,
does. And, back stage agent. I don't know if he's still doing it. I haven't kept up on what everybody does, but yeah,
yeah, yeah,
solid
and
picks.
for him, it's like I always say, it always kind of blew my mind how he could chain together the most random moves into
Mhm.
a sequence that you would never ever think of. And it's a bit of an exaggeration, but I'm going to do a baseball slide, Hurricane Rana power bomb, or something
Mhm.
that would not make sense, but he always made it make sense. And then I think once I kind of got past those suggestions of people telling me what to watch, AJ Lee and Paige, I
Okay.
can't
Yep.
not mention them. The stories that they told together, and I really just think both of them, in terms of women wrestling in the modern day, especially, were both just total trailblazers. And I'm so excited to see AJ Lee back in the ring.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of her stuff since she's been back. I've just been this podcast has kind of taken off. Not to sound like a prick, it's just been busy on my end with everything else. I haven't watched a pay-per-view in its entirety since WrestleMania last year. But I want to do a full stop here with Paige, Saraya, and AJ Lee. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to read their books yet or not, but the things those girls have gone through, I will fight anyone that says they're anything other than baddies or badasses, because the things they've endured in their life, they should not get the hate or the stupidity on the internet that they do. AJ Lee, just to kind of briefly touch on it, living in her car with her family in New York. Saraya going through being SA'd and, the release of her tape. Yes, idiots. I know you're going to comment it. It's move on because
Yeah.
it's degrading. And, man, like, chapter 3 in Saraya's book, like, I almost broke down at work because of how she described how her brother took the abuse from her. And I was like, and to
Yeah.
hear people on the internet constantly bringing up that, video of that release. And that's the punchline, the gag. And it's just like, if you only knew what this girl went through, during her teens and childhood, like, I adore her for being strong and getting through those roadblocks. And like I said, that punchline, it just drives me nuts. There was a comic book shop, and I want to say Upper New York, that was bringing her in for a signing, and people kept making that comment, and it pissed me off. And I usually don't fight with idiots on the internet. And I literally tagged the promotion and said, "Wow, you got a lot of sickos in your comment section." And they went and made a thing and said, "Hey, we will block you if you made a statement like, knock it off." And no one said anything on the next post when they came out. And I was like, that's pretty ballsy, because a lot of companies won't do that,
Mhm.
and be like, oh, so I respect that comic book shop a lot up there for literally saying, shut up about it. She's coming in as a guest. Treat her as such. And I had so much, I can't remember the name of it. I wish I did, but yeah, I would love to meet her and then just tell her, like, you're a badass for what you went through. Same with AJ Lee. I inquire people to read those books because there's more that goes on with these women that we don't know about. And then for the online trolls to say they can't wrestle, they're only there because of their looks. It's like, hell no. Read a book, learn about them, and you'll have a new respect for them. So that's my TED
Right.
talk. Sorry. And that's why, the sister shows here are very important to me. Wrestling with Pride, Bell to Bell, and the main event with Meg Lavelle, because the girls are diving into those conversations, into the weeds, and I'd love to get you on those so you could tell some of those stories and those horrifying
Mhm.
things to help women, get through that shit. Because as a male fan, I show up. No one bothers me unless I'm wearing say a Hulk Hogan shirt. Hey, brother, Hulk Hogan sucks. I liked him as the character. Okay, I get it. But like you getting catcalled, or, oh, why are you here? What are you doing here for the wrestling? To see the hot dudes? It's like, no, I came
Oh
to get a
yeah.
beer and watch wrestling. Shut the hell up.
Yep, yep. And
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 I'm
I
sure
do.
you've dealt with that nonsense.
Yes.
And it's sad, and I'm not saying I'm the perfect person in the world, but like, I like to think I have a little bit more respect for my peers and women in wrestling. than most, because it's like the people go there and you see them taking pictures of the girls and you're like, oh my gosh, dude, delete that. You're a creeper. Get out of here. Luckily, we have First
Yep.
Wrestling out of Minneapolis that polices itself. That's very inclusive with the LGBTQ community, and they will let you know you're out the door, But
Yeah.
again, my TED Talk, I'm sorry, taking up a little bit here, but let's go back to
Good.
Tajiri and Ultimate Warrior real quick. I just wanted to get that out there because those two girls have been through so much, and I just hate the hate they get. But Tajiri, Ultimo Dragon, two solid, great choices, two great guys. I've met both.
Oh, nice.
Tajiri looked like he wanted nothing to do with me, but I think that was just him being out of his comfort zone. Being somewhere just crowded with a bunch of weirdos like me. But he actually wrestled one of our favorite wrestlers here, Joey Avalon, and they had a simple but classic match, ended with the mist, and not to pull the curtain back, but said person said, when it's simple, makes the most sense and makes the most magic. And I was just like, that's awesome. I love the
Yes.
mist. Got to meet Great Muda around the same time as
Oh.
Tajiri, and I was just like, and little fan, just like, oh my gosh, this is the best day of my life. So
I have never met Ultimo Dragon. I do have a friend who was bartending a few WrestleManias ago, and he was in town. He didn't have the mask on, and he's like, I really wanted to take a picture and send it to you because he knows I was a fan. He's like, but I didn't want to like be unprofessional. But Tajiri, here's a fun little story. A friend of mine, AJ Alexander, went to Japan to train a few years ago,
okay,
and Tajiri was the head trainer where he was training. I can't
nice.
remember the name of the company, but he knew that I was a huge fan, and so I was down at our venue a couple days before one of our events, cleaning, getting set up. I'm sweaty, I'm dirty. It was like right after work, and I get a message from AJ. He's like, "What are you doing right now?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just at the Armory setting up for our show." And my phone rings, like I get a video call from AJ. So I'm like, all right. I open it, Tajiri is there, and he's like,
Oh my!
I was like, oh my God, I like freaked out, and we talked for just a couple seconds. I said, how's AJ doing? And he's like, he stresses me out quite a bit. I was like, yeah, that
Tommy
sounds like
Dreamer
him.
would say the same about Tajiri. So
Oh yes, without a doubt. But that was one of the coolest things ever. I'll never forget that. And I wish I had taken screenshots, but
right,
in the heat of the moment, you can't really think of those things.
yep. I would have been so starstruck. He would have just, yeah, I can't. I'm just excited that you were able to have that. If I wouldn't have gave my Tajiri cards that I had for one of the last giveaways at one of our shows, I would totally send you one that I have that is autographed just for you. I think he's amazing. He doesn't get enough love. He is definitely, one of the best technical wrestlers, like you said. But as you're older now, is there anybody that you really like watching in today's era that really stands out? For me, I'm an Otis guy. People say we look alike, but he's actually really strong and handsome. I just have the number one beard in podcasting, self-proclaimed, but
I also love Otis, and I wish he would get a little more shine. I just ever since he came on the scene, I've just loved him. I'm gonna just go with the obvious. I absolutely adore Rhea Ripley. I
who
think
doesn't? Yep.
yeah, like, geez. And when she first did the classic tournament, she kind of blended into the background. I thought a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Blonde hair, red gear, the same as a lot of people. But when she came back with her head shaved and her jewelry and her black leather, and she hit that pin for the first time on Zelina Vega, my jaw went through the floor. And ever since then, I've been like glued to the TV watching her. She just gets better and better. And on one of the recent podcasts I did, we talked a little bit about Rhea, and she's just that girl without even having to try. She just has that aura about her, and she's strong. She looks the part. I don't think anybody for a second could ever doubt that she could pull off a riptide. She's tough, she's muscular, and she looks fantastic. I think she deserves all the accolades she's getting. Also, maybe a little bit of a controversial pick here these days. I'm a big fan of the man, Becky Lynch. She was one that I watched a lot of when I was injured. And
Okay.
that was back in 2017, 2018. So kind of as she was climbing up to her peak. Love watching Becky Lynch. And
Another
I know a
great book,
lot.
folks. Yep.
Yeah,
Sorry, I love the
no,
books. I love reading about these athletes. Yep. Sorry.
yeah, no. Her book is also on my list of things to read. My birthday's coming up March 12th, so if anybody wants to treat me, that's a book I would love to
That's
get.
right. Buy
Um,
the boss a book.
yes, buy
Becky
the boss a
Lynch.
book.
I think it's on Book
So,
Outlet right now for like $5. So
oh
there you go,
yeah,
folks.
yeah,
I'll
perfect.
send you the
Yeah, that
website.
yes, please do, please do. So yeah, I love Becky. I love Zelina as well. I know I'm listing a lot of women, but I think the
No,
women's division these
no.
days are kicking butt, man. They are especially and to kind of go back to the AJ and Paige thing, not just in their personal lives what they've been through, but just in the wrestling world of
Right.
what they were permitted to do and what they were directed to do versus what we're seeing women do now on television is amazing. And I just anytime I tune in for a pay-per-view, it is 90% to watch the women work. I think it's incredible how far women have come in wrestling, and
Mhm.
I can't wait to see where we go from here in general.
Yeah, and I know the Bella hates another two girls that get a lot of hate because people don't know anything. I don't want to sound like a prick, but where they had a 8-minute match, they're supposed to go out and do an 8-minute. Okay, so they're already pissed that they got 8 minutes because once again, women's revolution here, and then they come back and say, oh, now you only have 5. And then they come down where they say you have 2 minutes, and that's including entrances, folks. If you don't know that term and stuff, go back. I can't explain it to you. The boss lady probably could better than me, but they get to have 2 minutes plus their entrances to have a match. Like, I get it. Like, sometimes things need to be cut, but come on. Like, that's a slap in the face to any performer at all, but definitely women. And then, I don't remember which Bella did it, but they literally just did the pin and then they walked out because it was like, what do you want us to do? How are we
Yeah.
supposed to tell a story in 2 minutes? And I'm sure there's someone out there that's going to comment and say, well, I could have did blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, you could have because, you're not in the business, folks. But again, those two have gone through so much in their personal lives. And I feel like probably people think that I'm this big mark for women's wrestling, which I probably am, but
As you should be, as you should be.
and I see it more on a different level than just their wrestling. I see them as people that have gone through some serious shit, and it hurts that if I ever have a daughter that I need to be aware of these things, and I have a friend who has told me, he's like, my daughter doesn't do sleepovers. I don't know these people. Sorry,
Yep.
those are my rules, they can stay here, but they're not going anywhere else. And I was like, that's a boss move. Like, that's something I would probably do with today's world. You don't know, but I just hate when fans think they know so much when in reality they're just like us sitting at home behind a screen, but they're not in the venue, but they can tell you everything that's going on. They're being buried. They're not being pushed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting kind of ramped up here. I do apologize, but I just feel like the women just take so much. And it's like when they finally achieve greatness, it's because they're pretty. It's because they're with the boss's daughter or that, they're married to Daniel Bryan. It's like, no, they've done it on their own, maybe with a little bit of help, but you bet your ass if my wife was a pro wrestler and I'm a pro wrestler, like, I'm going to help her succeed too, because that's what a partner does. And I'm sure you can vouch for your husband. He would do the same thing for you. If there's an opportunity to get you in the door or on something, he's going to fight for you because he loves
Mm-hmm.
you and wants to see you achieve your goals as well. And
That's
anybody
exactly
who
it.
says they won't are a horrible a spouse, partner. I'm sorry. I mean, everybody deserves their cake. Some people don't
Yeah.
get to eat at the same table. I get that, but you just got to go where your friends are. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm losing my train of thought here, but it's just like,
Well, and it's not
yeah,
even just the people in the
hmm
business too. You know, you see wrestlers saying the same thing
yeah,
about people sometimes. And I'm like, example, I had a match back in December and
hmm
we talked about it ahead of time and whatever. And I'm going into this feeling confident. But even as the person in that match who talked about the match ahead of time, who knows it's going to go a certain way, I still screwed up, you know? So even if it's like people in the business having these heavy criticisms, or
hmm
people who sit on the couch of their mom's basement having these criticisms, like nobody's perfect. Yes.
yeah.
Uh,
Except for my
nobody's
beard.
perfect except for
Remember
the
my beard.
beard. The beard is the exception. Yes.
I paid her,
Um,
folks. All right.
yeah, but it's like, you know, stuff goes
Mm-hmm.
wrong, and people are so quick to point out, oh, she botched that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, as I say, it ain't ballet. And as somebody who has done ballet, ballet is really hard too. But you know, it things go wrong, and to be under all that pressure on television, on social media all the time, seeing these comments, and like still having to perform at a high level, I think it's incredible what people do
Mm-hmm.
at all in the ring. And I say this to the wrestlers that work for us too. Like, they are superheroes. They're out there putting their bodies on the line for our entertainment, and they're doing these superhuman feats
Mm-hmm.
of strength and acrobatics. Be happy for them, clap for them, cheer for them. And
Right.
if it's not your cup of tea, change the channel or don't go to the show, you know.
Or wait for the next match.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
not everything needs the criticisms of somebody who's not there actively
Mhm.
partaking in putting the show together.
Yeah, and it makes me think of that silly meme that I just saw the other day where the guy screws up and then it cuts to the I'm a heavyweight, I'm a fatty, I could say it. Where he's just sitting there with his bowl of noodles, fucked it up, nerd, you know, and it's just like exactly right there. The person that's gonna give you the hate is just sitting there stuffing their face with ramen noodles.
Yep.
Like, I'll point it out, but like I'm not gonna hold it against them because their foot got tangled up or something.
Sure.
Um, or when, you know, people mention Otis, because I talk about Otis. Oh, well, do you see that little stutter step that he does before he drops his elbow? I'm like, yeah, he didn't get his feet set right. Oh, well, like, he still did the worm. Let me see you do the worm at 280 pounds of sexy man beast, you know? You
Yeah.
can't do the worm? I'm sorry. Then shut up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
uh,
and with millions of people watching you, I'm
exactly,
sure, you
exactly.
know,
You know,
nobody's asking for that person's autograph.
yeah, and no one asks for mine either. I just give it up for free at shows, by the way. So,
There you go.
disclaimer. But yeah, I feel like, you know, this is where our conversation is going, is just the criticism. You know, I got my first hate a while back. The guy called me fat, and I was like, "Are we in kindergarten?" I was waiting for the Four Eyes comment to come next. It's just like, yeah, but I need them so I can see, because if I didn't have them, I wouldn't be able to read your horrible comment, you know.
Yep.
So like that's another thing that the IWC has kind of taken over is, oh, well, AEW only had 5,000 fans, but WWE had 25,000. It's like, okay, but wrestling has more than one place to work. And you say you love wrestling, so just love the wrestling, you know.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. I think looking at those stats really just takes the joy out of it.
mhm,
Going through the dirt sheets, all of that stuff. It's like, we're in this because it's fun. Nobody
yep.
starts this thinking that they're going to be millionaires at the end of the year. We do it because we like it and because we meet wonderful people.
Hmm.
I really don't care if a show in Ohio is pulling 200 people while I'm pulling 150. Like,
Yep.
whatever, good for them. I'm going to do me. And, you know, I wish everybody the best in wrestling. And I think everybody should wish everybody the best as well. It would just be better all around.
Yeah, and I think I'll start interviews from instead of what is your first earliest wrestling memory to is how many fans were at your last show?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, what exactly? I don't care. You know, we don't critique the indies like we do the stuff on TV. Then it's they're a billion-dollar company. So, like, just because they don't draw so much at one show, and we all know those numbers are inflated. They're always
Yeah.
inflated, you know,
Yeah.
just like self-proclaimed. It's always inflated. It's just nothing on the internet is real unless it's, something that's educational, I feel. And that can also be wrong.
That can also be touchy.
We're going to touch on, the relationship with you and your husband here. How is your guys' favorites mesh, or do they kind of have opposites? My dad makes fun of me. I know this is different from husband and wife, but my dad makes fun of me because I watch men run around in tights. Does he give you a hard time about some of your favorites? Do you have the same favorites? Because my wife doesn't watch it unless we get to have a few cocktails at the show, but she loves a few guys that I absolutely hate. But how about for you?
We have a lot of the same favorites, but I will throw this out there, and this is probably going to get you some comments. There's a decent age discrepancy between the two of us. He's got 10 years on me.
11 on my wife, so I mean, I'm
okay. Yeah, there we go. But he also grew up watching wrestling. That was his thing, and so we're talking from the 80s forward. I'm a 90s kid, and I didn't start watching this until I was like 20. So. Most of his favorites, Dusty Rhodes is his number one.
Sounds like a great guy already.
Yeah, he loves Dusty Rhodes. But a lot of our, we both like Dean Malenko. We have, a good appreciation for people who can work. And one of the things that when we watch pay-per-views, and I'm going to sound like those people that we were just complaining about a minute ago, the Logan Pauls and the people who, maybe focus a little more on the gymnastic ability. I will say this, I love that. And I know our fan base for Route 33, they love the flips, and I'm not against it. But we will sit down and kind of hem and haw and be like, man, I'd like to see some wrestling in this match instead of some backflips. So I'm trying to think, who else does he really like? He's, oh gosh. So you put me on the spot, I have to think about it. Yeah.
Was he a fan of Goldust, being a Dusty fan? Did he like Dustin Rhodes and Goldust?
Yeah, he does love Dustin Rhodes. Goldust, I don't know.
All right, we can pile back the best friend comment. We'll say we're friends. Yeah, I got both of them tattooed on me, Dusty and Goldust. So I just had to give you some crap there, but
yeah, no, I mean, to be honest though, I think he can appreciate Goldust for the entertainment quality. I love Goldust. I think that there's so many directions that gimmick went in.
And really bad too. I mean, he wasn't perfect, folks.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Goodness gracious.
Seven, Black Rain,
Yeah. There were some creative choices that were made that maybe wouldn't be made today. But but most of his favorites are before my time. Not to make him sound like an old geezer. He's not an old geezer. But yeah, his favorites are from the 80s, early 90s, and mine are just from where I kind of started watching. So, like I said, my AJ Lees and my Pages.
All right. Before we get out of here, we'll try to keep this short. We'll have to definitely get you back on, dive more into that fandom, more into your company and stuff. But I'll hit you with a hard-hitting question. But where can people find you guys on social media and stuff? And then I'll hit you with that hard-hitting question here.
Oh, boy. Okay. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and we just started up our Patreon for our past events that are all totally put together and edited with commentary. Only $5 each, and it's free to join to become a member.
Definitely do that. Yep.
Yes, that's where we are right now, and I'll throw this out. Our next event here in Spencer, West Virginia is March 14th, and you should come to it if you're in the area, which you're in Wisconsin, you said, so maybe your viewership is a little far away from us, but if you happen
that's right. We'll still support the cause. We'll support the cause.
Come on by.
Perfect. And definitely, Patreon, we will sign up for free for you, get you on ours as well, for free. But yeah. All right. Hard-hitting question here. You're booking a fatal four-way match. Any women you want, any era, independent, pros, past, present. You're booking it. Who you got? All four corners. Who you filling that ring up with?
All right. I'm going to start with my two indie girls.
All right.
The unwilting Tatiana. She is out of Pittsburgh, and she is our current Wild and Wonderful West Virginia champion. So she's my number one pick. My second indie pick, Audrey Allen from North Carolina. She is an absolute beast, and I would love to see her just go ham on three other people.
Mhm.
I'm going to pick my two pros. I'm going to say Rhea Ripley
All right.
and Lita.
Okay. Got to have some
Yeah.
high flying in there with Lita, huh? All right.
Yep.
And Aubrey Allen, I mean, I know a little bit of her backstory, not really being a fan of wrestling. And the last 3 years, I want to say she's just been crushing it. One of the more successful women that I've seen on the indie scene. I was trying to get her on. Times did not line up. She was on a previous podcast that we were affiliated with. But yeah, her story is pretty unique. And she loves Disney, so there's nothing wrong there. So
I actually, really quick, I know we're running out of time.
No, we're fine. I just try to have that as an outline. You're good.
I will drop the quickest story about Audrey. This was last year. I can't even remember what date it was. We had her booked for one of our events, and it was for our tournament for the Wild and Wonderful West Virginia Championship. And of course, she's coming all the way from the South.
Yep.
And she calls me at 10 a.m. and she's like, I just woke up. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, mind you, we are in West Virginia, so that's a drive. I said, okay, we're going to move your match to the second half. If you're going to try to make it, just let me know what's going on. Okay, I'm getting in my car now. She drove 80 miles an hour, virtually nonstop from Atlanta to Spencer, West Virginia, doing her makeup while she was driving, and managed to sew the rest of her gear together upon arrival. Which was right before intermission. She went on, had her match, and she was the last person out the door at the end of the night. So many props to Audrey for that. And she was.
I remember her story about how she drove and got. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. She's a lifesaver for doing that, and but also just an incredible wrestler and an incredible worker, and she's just a delight. So book Audrey Allen, promoters out
That's
there.
right, and we promote her a lot on the thing there. She's probably like, why does the weird guy with the beard keep tagging me? Because I want to see her succeed, because she's just a unique story. Like I said, not being a fan of it and then being like one of the best out there right now. And shout out to Nyx. She's another one. I'm going to send you some lists of some girls from our area. And I mean, there's so many great women wrestlers out there. Like I said, you got to get on our sister shows here, and I'm sure you dive even more into that. But yeah, it's been great, boss. We definitely got to get you on again. Let's get the husband in here as well as a solo, and then we can do a joint episode. We could have some fun with that, where we, have you guys write down different answers and then share them. Something like the match game would be fun. Let's have some fun with it. But one more time, the promotion and where everybody can find you here. So.
We are Route 33 Wrestling in Spencer, West Virginia, and you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon as of very recently.
Perfect. All right, friends. If you want to be just like the boss lady herself and hang out with the #1 beard in pro wrestling podcasting, self-proclaimed, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and make sure you check out those sponsors down below. We have Inside Out Nutrition, healthy teas, healthy shakes, and healthy donuts. I know, folks. Healthy donuts. I love the teas. They get me so jacked up. I could probably, run in the ring like Ultimate Warrior, as well as Superior Creations, where you can get all your custom tumbler needs. I don't have it with me today. I'm sorry, folks. I got to clean dishes around here. My wife's in Hawaii, like I said. One last time, let's give a huge shout out to those Patreon subscribers of ours. Brian, Joe, Nick, Mike, Bobby Joe, who actually owns Inside Out Nutrition. So easy sign up right there. Alex, Mike D, CZ the Wizard, as well as Justin and Allie and my wife Amy, because she's got to support the chaos. And last but not least, got to get that graphic back in there before I delete it. Wrestling with Pride, the main event with Meg Lavelle, as well as Friends of the Square Circle. That's me. And Bell to Bell. Give those sister shows a like and follow. They are doing great things there. Hopefully you see the boss lady on there soon. It's your boy Crander Q. Crander Q out. This is always the awkward part, trying to hit the